Well, as I said off the top, well, one fellow that certainly experienced this Argos Ticats clash, especially late season ones, as a member of the Ticats coaching staff, broadcaster as well too, and an analyst. It's John Salavanis, and he's joined us for his pregame salutations. Good day, Coach Sal. How you feeling?
Hey, I'm feeling good, Bubba and Mike. Nice to have you on.
Thanks, Sal. Good to be back.
Hey, Coach, this is one of those contests. I have to ask you this. Is it, as a coach, and when you're putting together the tapes and preparing the players, is it easier or more difficult when it's a fourth regular season meeting?
Well, look at it this way, Bubba. If this game was about stats, there would be no reason to play it. In the three previous games, Toronto's outscored Hamilton 105-57. But that's not it. This game is about Hamilton's journey. They've now won 2 in a row, 3 wins, and we can start calling it a winning streak. And also, Hamilton has established a blueprint for how they win. On offense, run the ball to balance that attack. As Butler goes, so goes the offense. Convert your second downs and limit your turnovers. On defense, stop that run. Get some takeaways. Limit the big play. On special teams, cover well on kicks. Provide the offense with field position. Don't take penalties. And remember, this journey is about progress, not perfection. So I'm looking forward to this game.
Yeah, and Coach, it's, you bring up some really good points, but when you look at this Argos team who, has the most big plays in offense, most big plays on special teams, right, runs the ball really well, do they do anything different than they've been doing in these past few games where, the result has been working out for Hamilton? Or is it just kind of same business as usual, but different cast of characters?
Are you talking about Toronto's cast of characters or Hamilton's?
Yeah, Toronto's cast of characters. Like, does Hamilton do anything different because it's Toronto and how well they are doing in these, big plays, this run game? Like, is there anything that they need to do differently than they've done in the past?
I thought Mark Washington in his last ball game against the Winnipeggers, I thought he had a great game plan. He had some things happen in that ball game that were just super efforts, but also well thought out, well timed type plays. And I refer to that the one play where they blitzed the will side backer, and of course the quarterback Collaros is looking to throw that hot route, and you see Carey come off the defensive end from the opposite side, make that interception. So, I thought they had a good game plan going in, and I'm sure Mark's really worked out what he needs to do against Toronto. And the one thing I think they have to do is they've got to stop that big passing game. Toronto's got 24 times they've thrown 30-plus yards down the field. That's one of the areas where I think they have to have some kind of a plan to stop that.
Yeah, absolutely. And now with the running back and with the running game here, no A.J. Ouellette, no Andrew Harris. Is there a little less focus now taken off of Mark Washington and having to stop this run? Or
I don't think so, Mike, because Mahan, I think is how he pronounces his name, has really got some real quick speed in there. He's a lot like the running back for Calgary. He shows me some effort in that. So I don't think you want to take off anything on the run game. I think you want to really make sure you're in your rush lanes and you're covering all areas so that he doesn't get any breakaways.
Yeah, and let's hop over the offensive side now. With this turn, Bubba asked me this question earlier, and I thought it was a great question. What has been the turn of this offense? I know you said getting James Butler the ball, but what has really now kind of developed into Taylor Powell playing really well? Is it because of the Milanovic? Is it because Taylor Powell's getting a little more comfortable? Is it a mix, or is it something completely different? Because it's hard to put your finger exactly on what's making this Ticats offense roll.
Yeah, I think, Mike, it's really a combination of all the things you mentioned. I think Milanovic has had a great deal to do with it. I think he's improved everything they've done on the offensive side in terms of how to protect the quarterback early on. We saw a lot of tight end formations. We saw different people playing at the tight end. We saw the fullback there. We saw a slot back there. We saw an offensive lineman there. I think that gave Powell a little bit of time in the pocket to make his reads. And I think Powell has picked up on it very, very well. He's going 1 to 2, and if it's not there, he starts his movement. I've seen him slide out of that pocket numerous times now and make throws down the field. So I think it's a combination of all those things.
Yeah, now I'm going to ask you to put your coaching hat on for the other side. With the Argos locking up first place, this rest versus rust debate is always going to be talked about week in, week out for the Argos. How much do you rest your guys to get them ready for playoffs, and how much do you want them to still be rolling come playoffs? So, and if it was your team, your situation, how do you control something like this?
Well, it's difficult because I think they've got 5 games left in which they've already locked up first place. But you don't want to rest your players the last week or the last 2 weeks of your regular season. So I think you rest your players now in the interim games where you take 1 or 2 players out, which they've done this week, and allow them to rest and get their body back in. But if you wait too long and then you try to rest the week before you go into a playoff game, you're looking for trouble because the rust will really show up at that point. So I think they have to make some adjustments with how they want to do it. If they're going to play Kelly, they've got to play the first offensive line. They don't want to take any chances with him. If they want to take somebody out of the secondary, they really have to think hard about which guy they want to take out, because do you take Peters out, who's probably one of the best short corners in the league? Do you take Pickett out? Pickett's one of the best Sam linebackers in the league. So it's really difficult. I think you just have to mix and match as you go into these next 3 games.
Folks, be sure to be listening during next week's Tiger-Cats pregame show for the Greenworks Listen to Win keyword. When you have the word, enter ticats.ca/Greenworks to enter for a chance to win a 24-volt tool combo. Tackle any chore like the professionals by visiting us at greenworkstools.com. Coach, one of the things that I've really been impressed with, and I know Mike and I just kind of went over it in a couple earlier blocks, is the fact that this secondary has really come together. And I know we've talked a lot about Stavros Kasatonys, and certainly deservedly so because he's making these big plays. But very quietly, Kenneth George Jr., I mean, let's be honest. You remember that first quarter in game number 1 against Winnipeg? Fell down on one coverage to Agadozi, 30-yard gain. Wolotarski, 40-yard touchdown pass. He falls down. Quietly, he's doing his job and getting matched up on some of those big-time wide-side receivers.
Yeah, you're right, Bubba. You know, the guy's come a long way from those early ball games. And to be very honest, and Mike touched on this earlier, when they took Daly out of the free safety and put him at the open halfback and put Leonard at the corner, I was one that was critical of that move. I didn't think that was a good move. But Kasatonys has really come on and played great at the free safety position. So it's solidified that secondary. But to go back to what you're saying about George, I think it was a matter of him getting used to the fact that he was single out there on that corner and had to stay on his feet.
Yeah, absolutely. And I always say as your short side corner, the less you hear of them, the probably better they're playing.
That's absolutely right.
Yeah. And Liz, what I do want to talk about is, so Simone Lawrence, right, has an opportunity to break some records here, but just what has he been able to do kind of for his entire career that's been allowing him to play at such a high level for such a long time? Like, is there something special that you need to do, or is it just the type of guy that he is?
Well, I think he's a very special person. I think he's a special athlete. I think he's a freak of nature in some ways because of his abilities. But he's also very heady on the field. He understands what's going on. You know, his mouth is always going, but his feet follow along right with him. So, you know, you got to look at that guy and you got to say, boy, and not only him, but look at Teddy Laurent playing in this ball game. You know, Teddy Laurent, I think, is really playing some very, very good football in that front line.
Got to get Jagger Davis going, though.
Well, and that's what's been very interesting is that seeing Jagarrett Davis has now come back into the lineup and has been getting some defensive reps, because the Jagarrett Davis that we remember from the past is to be in the backfield and interrupting quarterbacks, and I just don't think we've seen that yet. And it might be that he's getting used to it, but what do they need to do for him to get him rolling a little?
Well, I always figured Davis as one of those kind of players that in the big game he'll make the big play. He's the kind of a guy that is very savvy as a defensive end. He doesn't always give you 100% rush. Sometimes it looks like he's, I don't want to say slacking off, but really he's reading the quarterback and he's getting into that throwing lane that the quarterback's looking at. So with Davis, to me, he's the kind of a guy that put him out on that end and turn him loose. Let him go for the quarterback and use a secondary guy behind him to make sure it's contained.
Seems to work out for him because somehow, some way, he also always ends up in the Grey Cup.
Hey, if that's the case this year, then Bubs, I'm happy with that, Coach.
He is Coach Sal with his pregame salutations. John Sullivan, as always, appreciate your time, your insight. It's always mint with us. Thank you so much.
You're more than welcome, guys. Talk to you later.